horse racing track where 2,000 horses die each year in horse racing, and if you want to learn more about the deaths and injuries, go to horseracingwrongs.org. I actually used to ride horses. I rode horses for 10 years. So when I was a kid, I actually attended a place like this, and I didn't know or think about the fact that horses are raced to their grave, and I didn't know that what I was doing was abuse. I thought that I loved my horse, but truly love is not domination and love is not control, and you can't love someone and strap a saddle to their back and a bit in their mouth and control everything they do. You can't love someone and hit them or whip them or jab them with spurs. You can't love someone and force them to run for your entertainment. Love is, if you love horses, you support vegan horse sanctuaries. If you love horses, you would never ride horses. You would never support anyone, any form of riding horses, no matter how much they claim that they only ride for 10 minutes or they use properly fitted tack or whatever bullshit like Raleigh Link 14 likes to say on YouTube.
Oh, called out. Call them out. Call out the abusers, the so-called vegan abusers too.
They say that horses need exercise, but you can exercise horses in other ways. You can go out in the field and shake a can of rocks or a can of coffee beans, and that'll make them run around. You can do that for like an hour, and you know, it's not a perfect world. Horses should be able to roam and be able to walk miles and miles a day, but unfortunately we don't live in that perfect world or that vegan world. So
can you guys all hear her?
The most vegan thing that you can do for horses is to support them at a vegan sanctuary, or just not ride them because it's bad for their musculoskeletal system. It makes them go lame, which means their legs get limp, and
like people who eat meats, erectile dysfunction. Limp. Okay, just kidding.
Horses are injured all the time in riding. Horse riders will try to say that they ride to prevent laminitis, but actually you can cause laminitis by riding. So essentially you're just getting rid of one thing that prevents laminitis, which is sitting around eating grass, and replacing it with another thing that causes laminitis, which is riding. And again, you can exercise them in a round pen or by shaking a can of rocks and something like that. You don't have to get on their backs. People only get on horses' backs for their own ego and for their own entertainment. And if you truly love horses, you wouldn't do that. What, Mom?
I was just gonna say, I don't know if they can hear you. Thank you, Alicia. Right from the ex-horse rider's mouth. Hold on.
Breeding either, because
wait, hold on.
You would not support breeding either, because just the same logic as adopt, don't shop for dogs. Every time you breed a horse into existence, you're taking away the land and resources for already existing unwanted horses, and you're increasing the number of unwanted horses in this world, which increases the number of horses that go to slaughter, because even though we don't have slaughter in the US for horses, we actually do slaughter horses. We just send them to Canada or Mexico. And that's what happens when there's too many horses, because people don't want to take care of them. When they're not benefiting their ego, or when they're not giving them a profit. And so Horse riding is not innocent, and if you want your kids to get into horse riding, you should get them into working at a vegan sanctuary instead, because you should teach them how to really love animals instead of how to dominate, control, and abuse them and kill them. So yeah.
Thank you so much.
Just like us.
Profit, torture, pain.
Mama's bark is to blame. How many more will disappear? How many more will disappear? Horses die on racing tracks. Horses die on racing tracks.
Death row.
Death row.
Killed for me. Killed for me.
For animal abuse. For animal abusers.
Rise up, take a stand. Rise up, take a stand.
Horse racing should be banned.
Horses die on racing tracks. Drugged and doped to hide the pain.
Monmouth Park is to blame.
Horse race.
Death race.
Horse race.
Death race.
Horses feel pain.
Just like us.
Horses have emotion.
Just like us.
Horses want to live.
Just like us.
And all animal oppression.
End all animal oppression.
And all animal oppression.
End all animal oppression.
Monmouth Park has blood on their hands.
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 Monmouth Park has death on their hands.
Monmouth Park has death on their hands.
Greed.
Abuse. For animal abusers. Horse racing should be banned. Get the jockeys off their back.
Monmouth Park is to blame. Monmouth Park has blood on their hands.
Monmouth Park has blood on their hands.
Monmouth Park has death on their hands.
Monmouth Park has death on their hands.
Greed, profit, torture, pain.
Monmouth Park is to blame.
Greed, profit, torture, pain.
Monmouth Park is to blame.
Drugged and whipped, killed in fear.
How many more will disappear?
2,000 horses killed each year.
How many more will disappear?
Shattered limbs and heart attacks.
Horses die on racing tracks.
Shattered limbs and heart attacks.
Horses die on racing tracks.
Too slow.
Death row.
Too slow.
Death row.
Sold for cheap.
Killed for meat.
Sold for cheap.
Killed for meat.
There's no excuse.
For animal abuse.
There will be no rest.
For animal abusers.
Rise up, take a stand.
Horse racing should be banned.
Horses die on racing tracks.
Get the jockeys off their back.
Drugged and doped to hide the pain.
Monmouth Park is to blame.
Horse race.
My panties are wet. My panties are wet.
Horse race.
Death race.
Horse race.
Death race.
Horses feel pain.
Just like us.
Horses have emotion.
Just like us.
Horses want to live.
Just like us.
We protest that. I have chickens that I've rescued. I just rescued a rooster that someone dumped off because he wasn't going to produce eggs. He's now going to live his life out at a sanctuary. This isn't the only cause we come out for.
I want to take a couple of pictures so I can...
For sure. Think about it.
If you currently are a horse rider, I want you to know that the point of my video is not to make you feel like a human piece of shit. Same goes for if you are a fan of horse racing and watch horse racing. The point is not to make you feel like you're a terrible person. It's just to tell you, hey, what you've been doing is actually supporting animal cruelty and you've been lied to, and here's the truth about it. And so that then you can use that information to do better moving forward. I think all of these arguments that horse riders use all the time, like I only ride to exercise my horse, and horse riding isn't abusive, and rodeo isn't cruel and all that, are sad, because I used to be that person saying those arguments, When I was in college for equine science, I had a public speaking class and I literally did a speech about why rodeo wasn't cruel. And it was such a hard speech to do. I was stumbling and fumbling. I think deep down I knew that my arguments were trash. And I couldn't even answer the questions that the class asked me afterwards. I think sometimes those of us who justify this stuff the most are the ones that are really deep down who know it's not right. And so if that's you, just do it already. Just go vegan. Just send your horse to a sanctuary, or just take care of them in a way that is for their best interest, not your best interest. It's never too late to start doing the right thing and to wake up. We also don't need to eat any animal products. Everyone can thrive on a vegan diet. Look up the American Dietetic Association's peer-reviewed scientific paper, their statement on vegan diets. Vegan diets are appropriate and adequate for all stages of life, including athletes, lactation, and pregnancy. There has actually been a ton of science out there that we've known about since at least the 1970s that animal products, that's meat, eggs, dairy, and seafood, are terrible for our health. They cause heart disease, type 2 diabetes, cancers. The list just goes on. Watch the documentary Forks Over Knives. It's loaded with science. There's also a nonprofit website called nutritionfacts.org, which is run by a doctor and shows videos with information about different topics backed by peer-reviewed science. To learn the ways in which you've been lied to about animal agriculture, please watch the documentaries Dominion Movement, which is free on YouTube or at watchdominion.com, or the documentary Earthlings. There's also The Land of Hope and Glory. All of these are completely free on YouTube. Seaspiracy is also a must watch. There's loads of vegan documentaries out there, like Cowspiracy, What the Health, The Game Changers. And again, visit horseracingwrongs.org. They document what happens to racehorses every single day. If you are emotionally attached to, or your identity is attached to, any hobby or sport that exploits animals, be it riding horses, hunting, fishing, 4-H, etc., I want you to know that the reason you are attached to those is most likely because you were bonding with people you love, like maybe your dad or your cousin or your family member or whatever, and you were outside in nature. It's not like the actual animal abuse is the part that you enjoyed. There are a ton of movies out there like Flicka or Seabiscuit or whatever that glorify horse riding, especially for little girls, and just glorify horse racing and never talk about all the death and injury and torture and misery that is the reality of the horse racing industry. But you just gotta dig deeper and see the truth that's hidden from you. If you have that adrenaline rush and need for speed, there's obviously loads of ways to take care of that don't involve using horses or animals. And if you have a love and desire to kill animals, I suggest getting a evaluation on yourself mentally. Animal abuse and cruelty is a classic sign in children that they will become serial killers. And slaughter workers often end up developing the desire to start being violent towards humans. I have a podcast about that. Check out my podcast, by the way, Stop the Violence. It is also extremely common in household and family units of abuse that the kids will abuse animals growing up. And I know that was sort of what happened to me. On the Stop the Violence podcast, I have several episodes that talk about how I used to go to college for equine science at Colorado State University, how I went to a horse breeding internship and the animal cruelty I witnessed there. There's loads of episodes about horses. I also have other episodes like the effects of slaughter work on mental health. I have an episode about 4-H, how it's animal and child abuse. Lots of information, but most of all, I hope you just visit the YouTube channel Earthling Ed on YouTube and listen to Earthling Ed's TEDx talk, Every Argument Against Veganism. And I hope you have a beautiful day. Remember, anyone can change. I changed. I used to be a horse abuser, and now I do the right thing, and now I speak up for animals.